Haven't I commanded you? Haven't I commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened, do not be dismayed. Be strong and courageous. For the Lord your God is with you. For the Lord your God is with you. Wherever you go, wherever you go. Wherever you go, go, go. Wherever you go. Haven't I commanded you? Haven't I commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened. Do not be dismayed. Be strong and courageous. For the Lord your God is with you. For the Lord your God is with you. Wherever you go, wherever you go. Wherever you go, go, go. Wherever you go. The Lord your God is with you. For the Lord your God is with you.
Okay, Lily,
Yeah.
how many gods are there?
Just one.
And how many persons in the one God? 3, right? Do you know what they're called?
Yeah. God the Son,
Mm-hmm.
God the Father,
Mhm.
and God the Holy Spirit.
Yes. And what is God?
The Spirit.
God is a spirit, yes. Do you know where God is? Where is God?
Everywhere.
Yes, God is everywhere. So that means that God is in the room with us right now, but he's a spirit, so we can't see him, right?
Yeah.
And what's your favorite place? What's a place you really like?
Going to our nice homes.
Our home, yep, God is in our home. So he's there too. Is there another place that you like?
All my friends' houses.
Your friend's house? Guess what? God is in your friend's house too. What's a place you don't like? Maybe a place that's a little scary?
Yeah.
Do you have a place that is scary?
No.
You're not scared of any place?
Sometimes.
Where?
Sometimes after a scary hotel.
Hotels can be kind of scary. Well, do you know what? God is in the scary places too. He is in hotels and he takes care of us there. He protects us. Even the places where we're scared. Because God is everywhere. Okay, so we're going to read a story. It's called Safe in the Lion's Den. And it's from the Bible. There was a man named Daniel who lived in the kingdom of Babylonia. Daniel had great faith in God. King Darius was in charge of Babylonia. He had a lot of men who helped him to rule the kingdom. But the king trusted Daniel more than any other man. In fact, he trusted Daniel so much that he put him in charge of all the other rulers in the kingdom. The other rulers didn't like that Daniel was in charge of them. The rulers wanted to get Daniel in trouble with the king, but they could never catch Daniel doing anything wrong. So they came up with a sneaky plan that was sure to get Daniel into trouble. One day they went to speak with the king. "Mighty King Darius, we have come together to ask you to make a new law that honors you," one of the rulers began. The king nodded. The ruler continued, "The law shall state that if someone prays to any god or man other than you, then that man shall be thrown into the den of lions." They said that it was bad to pray to God. Is it bad to pray? No.
No.
They were trying to trick him. One of the rulers handed the written law to the king. "Now sign this law, dear king, to make it official." King Darius signed the law. Then the men set out to catch Daniel breaking it. They knew that Daniel was faithful to his God. They knew that no matter what, Daniel would continue to pray to his God, and they were right. Do you like to pray?
Yeah.
Daniel had heard about the new law, but he believed that honoring God was much more important than honoring men. So just as Daniel had done every other day, he went into his room to pray. He was not ashamed of his faith. His windows were wide open for the world to see. Even though it could get him in trouble, Daniel would give thanks to God. The rulers stood as a group outside Daniel's window. They grinned as they watched Daniel fall to his knees. They smiled as they heard him speak to his God, and they knew that they had finally gotten what they needed to get Daniel in trouble with the king. The men rushed off to speak with King Darius. "Excuse me, King Darius," one of the rulers said, "but didn't you just sign a law saying if someone prayed to anyone but you, that man would be thrown into the lion's den?" King Darius answered, "Yes, that is true." "Well," the ruler tried to hide his evil grin, "Daniel doesn't care about you or your law. He prays to his God 3 times a day." The king's heart sank. King Darius loved Daniel. He trusted Daniel, and he had never thought that by signing that law, he would have to send Daniel to the lion's den. The mean rulers saw that the king wanted to protect Daniel, so they reminded him, "Remember, any law that you have signed cannot be changed." The king knew that this was true. Nothing he could say or do would protect Daniel now. He had no choice but to send Daniel to the lion's den. King Darius told his men to go get Daniel and take him to the lion's den. Then the men threw Daniel in with the lions. The king hurried to the den. He called down to Daniel, "Daniel, may the God that you serve save you from these terrible lions." What did we just learn about God? Where is God?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. If God is everywhere, do you think God could be in the lion's den?
I think so.
You think so? Let's see. Do you think God is going to save Daniel from the lions?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. That night at the palace, the king refused to eat. He turned away the musicians who tried to play for him, and he did not sleep at all. As soon as the first sliver of light fell upon the kingdom, the king jumped up and ran to the lion's den. He yelled into the den, "Daniel, Daniel, are you okay? Has your God saved you from the lions?" "Oh, yes, King Darius," came a voice from the lion's den. "God sent an angel to close the lion's mouth. They didn't hurt me at all. I am fine." The king was so happy. "Come, hurry," he called to his men. "Get Daniel out of the lion's den." The men reached into the den, and out climbed Daniel. King Darius ran to him and looked him over. He couldn't believe it. Daniel didn't have a scratch on him. Daniel had been faithful to God, and God had saved Daniel from the lion's den. It was then that King Darius decided to punish the rulers who had accused Daniel of disobeying the king's law. He also decided to write a new law. "From now on, throughout my kingdom," the king announced, "everyone must honor the God of Daniel." After that, Daniel continued to serve King Darius, and as always, Daniel continued to worship the one true God. So was God in the lion's den with Daniel?
Yeah.
Yes, and he kept him safe because God is everywhere.
Yeah.
We have learned that there is one God and that he exists in 3 persons, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit, and that God is a spirit, so he doesn't have a body like a man, and he's not bound or limited by the limitations of a human body, which is great news for us because it means that there's no limit on his power. When we talk about God being everywhere, that's possible because God is a spirit, that he doesn't have a physical form, so he can go everywhere and be everywhere. He's there with you right now, in your living room or wherever you are watching this, and He is here with me as I make this video, and that's great. God being everywhere means that you and I are never alone. Matthew 28 says that Jesus says He will be with us to the end of the age. Romans 8:9 says that the Holy Spirit is with you. So if you're ever feeling lonely or a little afraid, then you can be comforted to know that God is with you always. God also promises to never leave us. Deuteronomy 31:6 and Joshua 1:5 says that we don't need to be afraid or discouraged because God will never leave us or forsake us. In Psalm 139, it says, "Where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, there you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be night, even the darkness is not dark to you, for the night is bright as the day, for your darkness is as light with you." If you think of your favorite place in the world, your favorite place to be, it's good news to know that God is there with you too. My favorite place in the world is actually my home because it's the place where I feel safest and I get to share it with the people I love. Daniel and Lily and Milo and Olive. And that's a really awesome thing. It's also pretty cool that I get to share it with somebody else I love, which is God. He's here with us and He lives in this house, and that makes it even more special to me. So if you think of your favorite place, that's a place where God is too. He is there in your favorite place with you. Now think about a place that you don't like. Maybe a place that scares you or makes you a little bit nervous. I am really scared of the open ocean and open space, even though I'll probably never go to space or find myself in the middle of the ocean. But for some reason, the thought of that makes me feel afraid. For you, it might be school that's coming up. You might feel nervous thinking about going back to school in a few days or a week. Maybe you're scared of the dark, or you're scared of something else like that. It makes you feel nervous. It's a comfort to know that God is even in the places that scare us. He's out there in the middle of the ocean, and He's out there in the middle of space. And when you go back to school, He'll be there with you too on the bus, and if you're doing school at home, He'll be with you. And that can keep us from feeling afraid because we know that God is everywhere, that He is with us, that He has all the power. We know that He takes care of us and that He loves us and that He shares Himself with us. So it's good to learn these truths because we take them with us and they bring us comfort when we are afraid or when we are feeling down or we feel upset about stuff. We know that God is with us and He's everywhere and He loves us and He takes care of us. So wherever this week finds you, if you are afraid or nervous or you're happy and you're having a great time, take comfort, take encouragement, take extra joy in knowing that God is everywhere you are, and He's with you and He won't leave you.